In the unforgiving wilderness of the Yukon, where the earth is frozen and the odds are brutal, Parker Schnabel didn't just go mining, he went to war with the ground itself. This season, the young gold boss set his sights on an audacious target, $40 million worth of gold. It's a number so outrageous, most wouldn't dare dream it, let alone chase it. But Parker isn't most people. Every shovel of dirt, every ounce of gold, every decision on the mine site could make or break his legacy. And when the stakes are this high, one wrong move can cost you everything. With winter closing in fast and his crew stretched to their breaking point, every snapped cable and stalled machine felt like a ticking time bomb ready to blow. But this season wasn't just about digging for gold, it was about survival. Beneath the roar of engines and the promise of millions, there were whispers of danger, desperation, and reckless ambition. Some say Parker Schnabel risked everything, loyalty, safety, even lives, all for a shot at mining glory. The season began with sky-high ambitions. Fresh off earlier wins, Parker was determined to outdo himself, to dig deeper, faster, and harder than ever before. But that obsession came at a price. "We're using all of our manpower just to keep the plant fed," Parker admitted. "I feel like we should shut the plant down." But instead of slowing down, he doubled down. And that's where things took a dangerous turn. Parker Schnabel's greatest enemy this season wasn't breakdowns or weather, it was his own ambition. With a massive stretch of Yukon land at his fingertips, he had the potential for a record-breaking haul. But there was one brutal reality standing in his way, the frozen ground. In the Yukon, mining isn't as simple as digging. The earth is locked in ice for most of the year, harder than concrete. Before a single ounce of gold can be washed, months must be spent removing the top layer of worthless overburden, just to give the sun a chance to thaw the pay dirt buried below. It's a game of long-term strategy, where one wrong move can cost an entire season. And that's exactly where Parker stumbled. Behind the scenes, he admitted to a critical failure in planning. One key area, the elbow cut, was rich in gold, he knew that, but he hadn't prepared it in time. "This pit is the most logical one to take out next," he said, reflecting on the missed opportunity. But the clock was already ticking. With a short mining window and frozen ground still untouched, Parker was left watching millions in gold sit trapped beneath ice he couldn't reach. That's when reality slammed into Parker and his crew. They were in serious trouble. Already stretched to the breaking point, the team was juggling multiple sites, pulling gold from the bridge cut while scrambling to prep a new area for the next season. And just when they thought they couldn't take on more, Parker made the call that changed everything. He needed them to abandon their current work and shift all focus to the frozen elbow cut. The plan was instantly upended. They now had to rip through 2 feet of solid overburden before even touching the pay dirt below. That meant deploying massive D11 dozers equipped with brutal metal rippers, clawing at ground frozen harder than steel. Every move was a race against time and fatigue. Tensions were high. In a desperate bid to speed up the painfully slow progress, Parker made a costly gamble, bringing in yet another colossal D11 machine. But with each engine roar came a new pressure. These beasts cost a fortune to operate. And with gold still buried and time slipping away, the stakes were now higher than ever. Every hour, it burns a massive amount of diesel fuel. Just the petrol bill was outrageous. Spending $1 million on a machine to correct a mistake he had committed months earlier was a huge gamble. The season's first significant test was this one. His entire $40 million dream was now in jeopardy due to a catastrophe that started with a simple planning mistake. Parker and I are currently undergoing elbow cuts, which is quite costly when you consider it. This is the only way we can extract this gold this season, but you're operating a multi-million-dollar dozer that uses a lot of fuel. The race against the ice had begun with the arrival of the new monster dozer. They were constantly reminded of the amount of money they were wasting every hour by the sound of the enormous engines roaring as they tore into the permafrost. In reality, these circumstances are a conflict between nature and sheer force. The problem is that even one of the largest dozers in the world, the D11, has trouble breaking through frozen permafrost that has been there for thousands of years. Sometimes the machine would stop completely, shuddering against a particularly hard patch of ice, while the metal rippers would groan and howl. The staff was under pressure behind the scenes. Under the chilly Yukon sun, they were putting in long, tiring hours of work. On a good day, it's difficult to move massive machinery around, fuel them, and keep them operating. However, it is even more stressful to do it while aware that you are weeks behind schedule. Every malfunction, no matter how minor, seemed disastrous. Hours of valuable time could be wasted due to a hydraulic hose burst or an engine overheating, costing them thousands of dollars in lost gold. They had finally prepared enough ground at the elbow cut to begin slewing after 3 exhausting days of relentless digging and ripping. Slewing is the process of passing all of the pay dirt through Big Red, their enormous wash plant. This is the crucial time when all of the effort either pays off or results in a devastating letdown. Everyone watched the sleeve boxes in the hopes of spotting the telltale black sand and gold particles that indicated they were in a rich place as they began feeding the soil into the ravenous machine. Suddenly, just when they thought their luck was at its lowest, everything turned around. They cleaned up the elbow cut for the first time. You won't believe what they discovered, either. The pan of gold weighed a much. The total, when everything was weighed, was $282.30. Oh. That much gold was worth around $740,000 at the time. The entire crew felt a tremendous sense of relief. Parker was ecstatic himself. "This is what they should have been doing all along," he said. All of a sudden, it made clear. The long hours, the stress, and the costly bet on the extra dozer were all worthwhile. This was the first concrete indication that they might be able to salvage the season and go back on pace to meet their enormous objective. Settling in and going after the big numbers. The spark that ignited Pierce Parker's crew was the first large gold weigh-in from the elbow cut. It was as if someone had flipped a switch. At the mine site, the atmosphere changed from one of stress and anxiety to one of energy and concentration. You see, nothing inspires gold miners more than the sight of a handful of heavy yellow gold. It serves as evidence that their efforts have not been in vain. Their morale completely changes as a result. The pressure was still there now, but it was a new pressure. The strain of failing had subsided. The pressure of opportunity was the cause. The new objective was to acquire as much of the rich ground through Big Red as possible before the Yukon winter permanently closed them down. They were aware that they were on fertile ground. This is where things start to go crazy. The group got to work with amazing efficiency and quickness. The enormous trucks were transporting pay soil from the elbow cut to the wash plant in a continuous loop. Big Red was going day and night, and the dozers were constantly moving dirt. The amazing level of coordination required to maintain an organization like this operating at full capacity is something that is rarely discussed. It resembles an enormous, cacophonous ballet of monstrous machinery. The entire operation comes to a complete stop if a single component malfunctions, such as a truck tire going flat or a clogged wash plant. However, everything was operating flawlessly at the moment. After an especially successful slewing week, they cleaned up again. This weigh-in was even more convincing evidence that their fortunes had changed. In a single week, 382.4 ounces of gold were produced. The haul was enormous, enormous. Another significant step toward their objective. Good. Yes. Good. We're supposed to be doing that. There we have it. Yes. Back in it. We've returned to our proper location. What does that provide us with? Thus, we have 382.4 ounces for the week. They seem to be finding their rhythm at last. Remember, nevertheless, that the Yukon is a cruel master. The weather would throw them a curveball just when they were about to settle into a decent groove. The earth they had recently worked so hard to thaw could begin to freeze again in the event of an unexpected cold snap. The mine site might become a massive mud pit in the event of a strong downpour, rendering the heavy trucks immobile. Every one of these difficulties served as a reminder that they were engaged in a never-ending conflict and could not afford to take a break. Parker kept a close eye on the weather and encouraged his team to work harder and quicker since he knew that their window of opportunity could close at any moment. The race to the finish line turned into an obsession as the season's last weeks approached. The first hints of snow were dusting the mountain peaks, the nights were growing colder, and the days were growing shorter. They were in the home stretch, and Parker knew it. In reality, they were making a deliberate effort to extract the most valuable areas of their land before it was too late. Now, they needed every ounce of gold they could acquire. Nobody anticipated that attaining a $40 million target would still be extremely challenging, especially after their mid-season turnaround. Their ultimate goal total turns out to have more to it than that. Although we may only see the final number on television, the actual number is rather different. Parker's team extracted an astounding $5,425.40 ounces of gold by the end of this season. That haul was worth more than $14 million at the time, when gold was valued more than $2,600 an ounce. It was nonetheless a good week. 5,425.4 for the season. The insane portion comes next, and for the fans who pay close attention to every detail, it gets even more intense. The frequently discussed $40 million season objective may not apply to a single 12-month period. As you can see, these massive mining activities span several years. Parker probably set his $40 million target over the course of 2 or possibly 3 years of mining that specific area. This season's $14 million represented a huge portion of that sum and a significant step toward his ultimate objective. Therefore, even if he didn't reach $40 million in this one season, his amazing $14 million haul completely crushed his annual goals and positioned him in a prime position to reach his ultimate objective. For the entire team, that last weigh-in was a time of pure delight and weariness. They had persevered through a dreadful beginning, fought the icy terrain, and exhausted themselves. Their delight was to see that last huge number on the scale. Money wasn't the only thing involved. It was a triumph against the odds, demonstrating their diligence and Parker's unwavering determination. For him, it demonstrated that you could persevere and rise to the top even after making mistakes. And they weren't considering the difficulties as they prepared for the winter. They were already making plans for how they would return the next year to retrieve the remaining gold from the enormous amount of gold they had dug out of the ground. The rumors about the gold rush. What's actually happening? Now, it's an amazing success story to watch Parker Schnabel and his team extract more than $14 million worth of gold from the earth. It's a story of triumphing against adversity. You know, fans of a hugely popular television program like Gold Rush are always speculating and making assumptions about what goes on behind the scenes. Every scene is examined by ardent fans online, and their debates raise some serious issues and crazy theories regarding the program. Fans refer to one of the most popular hypotheses as the maker's gold. The problem is that a significant portion of the show's enjoyment is derived from the drama of reaching a season objective. According to the hypothesis, producers may find a means to help a crew reach their huge dramatic goal if they are only a little bit short of it by the end of the show. The pressure from the TV network to give viewers a huge, satisfying ending is something that no one discusses. According to this notion, a tiny bit of gold might be added to a final weigh-in to improve the appearance of the number and produce a more thrilling conclusion. Some fans think that might happen, but it's a massive scandal to even mention. They question whether each and every gold speck we see on the scales originated on the ground during that season. The land deals are the subject of another, more in-depth theory. Not all of the ground that Parker mines is his. He notably rents a large portion of it from Tony Beats, another legendary figure from the Gold Rush. According to the episode, Parker gives the landowner a royalty, or a portion of the gold he finds. There's more to the story, though. That's what the fans believe, anyway. The specifics of these arrangements are what actually raise a lot of questions. According to the fan idea, the royalty agreements are far more intricate than what is seen on television. Some of the ideas will surprise you. Fans question whether there are any hidden benefits. Does Parker receive a royalty discount, for instance, if he mines more than a specific quantity of ounces? Conversely, Are there hidden consequences if he fails to reach a particular goal? There has occasionally been animosity, Tony, but one day I will be asking for a favor. As if things couldn't get any stranger, some fans believe that the adversaries may be more amiable in real life than they portray. Perhaps they exaggerate the drama for the cameras because their business transaction benefits both of them so much, but the competition still makes for fantastic television. The weird part comes next. The lost gold is the subject of the most ludicrous controversy that people talk about. The idea is that not all of the gold they uncover is the same as what we see on the show. According to this theory, the miners may actually be performing smaller, less spectacular cleanups that are never captured on camera. They may discreetly sell this off-camera gem to private purchasers. Why would they act in this way? The problem is that it would provide them with a consistent flow of income to cover expenses like food and fuel without needing to be a major plot point for a television show. Additionally, it would imply that the enormous totals we see at the end of the season may not be accurate. The truth no person predicted is that their actual earnings could be even higher than the splendid numbers we see on the show. And if that wasn't enough, there also are theories about the team. We see a middle group of human beings on TV, but a big mining operation like Parker's requires plenty greater help. There are in all likelihood other mechanics, truck drivers, and employees who are by no means shown on camera. This brings up questions about how a good deal the group participants we see are definitely paid. Are they simply paid a revenue, or do they get an actual percentage of the gold? The show keeps those info personal, which shall we the fans' imaginations run wild. Whether any of these theories are actual or simply fun rumors, they add an entire different layer of intrigue to the high-stakes world of gold mining. But let's now not neglect, it's now not all just fan theories about things that is probably happening now. The show has an extended and wild records complete of actual on-camera blow-ups that had been sincerely scandalous on the time. What nobody talks about anymore is the generation of the Hoffman crew and their legendary disasters. You spot, years earlier than Parker changed into the king of the Klondike, Todd Hoffman and his team of novices were the celebs of the show. Their biggest scandal became a disastrous ride to Guyana in South the United States. They left Alaska with big promises of locating mountains of gold within the jungle. We come lower back, we PC our stuff up, and we are out of here. Freddie, why don't you have a look at the map, discover the places that we need to check. $60 a backyard is our goal. Permits try and locate it right here. However, right here's the loopy element. It became a whole and total failure. They discovered almost no gold. Their system was constantly breaking down in the thick dust and the crew became depressing. For visitors, it changed into a surprising season that felt like watching a teach damage in gradual movement. It became a huge scandal in the fan community with anyone debating how a group might be so unprepared and make so many horrific selections. That Guyana season continues to be remembered as one of the biggest disasters within the display's history. A real-life example of ways gold fever can lead you down a totally costly and useless stop direction. And if that wasn't enough, the Hoffman crew become also on the middle of the show's very first mutiny. That is in which it gets wild. Lower back in Season 1, a group member named Jimmy Dorsey dramatically ceased the crew. He failed to just stroll away quietly, either. He went on digital camera and advised the sector that he thought Todd Hoffman's leadership turned into horrible and that the complete operation become a disorganized mess. You may not agree with the drama it induced. It was the first time a group member had broken ranks and publicly criticized their boss on the display. All at once, everything made experience to some visitors who already notioned the crew turned into in over their heads. This turned into a true scandal that showed the real-life tensions and frustrations behind the scenes. Seems there may be extra to the tale of the show's past rivalries, too. The famous tension between a younger Parker Schnabel and the older, more skilled Todd Hoffman wasn't just for display. It boiled over into one of the maximum memorable moments in Gold Rush history. A real lifestyle's wager for 100 ounces of gold. That is proper, a wager well worth properly over $100,000 at the time. This wasn't a manufacturer's concept. It was a real mission laid down between the two guys to see who should mine the maximum gold. This modifications everything because it took their on-screen contention and became it right into a big public gamble whilst with real cash on the line. These beyond occasions from jungle failures to public bets and team mutinies set the degree for the high-stakes international we see today. They may be a reminder that the drama on Gold Rush has constantly been rooted in real dangers, real screw-ups, and really real scandals. So, become Parker chasing gold or just chasing fame? Let us understand what you consider within the comments. Smash that like button and subscribe for more shocking truths from the goldfields.